Hey everybody, welcome to day 17 of Video a Day Debruary. I'm going to be introducing you to our guest in just a minute, but let me first, share with you some of the wonderful things about her that made her just a great guest for our show tonight. The title of the show, Setting Boundaries, means I love myself. And our featured guest is Dr. Nicole Arkadie. She's an international speaker, a professor, a wellness coach, and the owner of a thriving mental health practice and a fast-selling author of inspirational books for women. She's also the mother of three lovely little darlings. Dr. Nicole has a doctorate in education and organizational leadership with an emphasis in behavioral health, and she's worked in the field of behavioral and social sciences for almost 20 years. She's a licensed clinical social worker here in California, and she provides clinical mental health therapy services. She's also a professor of social work at the Department of Cal State University, San Bernardino, and she provides community trainings and workshops and does guest speaking all around mental wellness. She teaches women how to say no without feeling guilty and to learn how to love themselves, flaws and all. She's dedicated to empowering working mothers to make positive mental wellness choices, with a key recommendation being to take a bath at least once a week. So, you got to ask her about that. So tonight we're going to be discussing boundaries in her book entitled Caged No More. You have the keys to unlock your joy and happiness. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nicole Arkadie to Debruary 2021. We have to get you unmuted there.
All right.
Oh, there you
Hello.
are.
I am
Hey.
here. Hello. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
now
you.
we're near as excited as we are.
Thank you. So I'm excited. February. I like that Debuary. Your play on words. I love
Yeah.
it.
And well, the first year I did this, which was what, 2018, I think,
Uh-huh.
thought of that like the second week of it. And so we switched everything to that and been using it ever since.
I love it. Yes, I love that. So
Well,
yes.
let's start by explaining to us what a wellness coach does and what that means.
Yeah. So a wellness coach is someone who focuses on your mind, body, and spirit. So helping individuals who may be going through some life difficulties or just teaching them different tools and helping to coach them through whatever that success may look like. Right. So I have clients who it's different from mental health because I also provide mental health therapy. So the wellness coach is focusing more on just you may have some regular life challenges that you need to have someone help assist you with to help you move through that. And so my job is to help you identify what those barriers may be, and I help to coach you along the way as you're meeting that goal.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. So let's talk about your book, though. What motivated you
Hmm.
to write it? And the
Hmm.
title was really really interesting, along with what you were talking about being in a cage. So what's going on?
What got me
What was
there?
the
Right?
motivation?
You're like, what happened?
Yeah,
So
what had happened to it?
right. Well, see, what had happened was no. What got me there was I had in 2000 and oh my God, the time's going by. Maybe I think 2018, 19, maybe 18. I came out with my self-affirming inspirational quotes, develop a can-do attitude, and I got such great reviews from people. And they were telling me, "Oh my gosh, we want more." Like I people were telling me they were reading a page a day to help them get through and to start their day
Oh,
off and how much they found that so helpful and beneficial. And so as I was doing more of my work and I in my therapy practice, the majority of my clients are women. I do see men, but I will say about 98% of my clients
hmm,
are women. And so I started to see this theme that kept presenting itself. And I'm like, what can I do to help more women to be able to address this issue? That, and then I was talking to other people and hearing the same problem, this theme that was coming up. And so what I started to recognize was, you know what? We all, not we all, but a majority of the women that I was talking to kept finding themselves stuck. And they were stuck because of feeling anxious, or they were stuck because of fear, or they were stuck because they were feeling sad, or they were stuck because they didn't know how to say no to those people they loved and set those healthy boundaries. And so they were finding themselves, and I talk about this invisible cage. It's
Yeah,
because
that
it's
was my
not
next question to
right.
ask you. What does that?
What does that mean? What does
Yeah,
it
I mean
look
the
like?
symbolism was very powerful, but I wanted,
Hmm.
since they haven't read it, I have, but they
Yes.
haven't. Yeah, what does that really look like?
So what that looks like is I'm going to take one of the chapters in the book. And this chapter talks about fear and how fear then impacts you and leads towards anxiety. How fear becomes so overpowering that it prevents you from being able to enjoy life. It prevents you from being able to go to work. It prevents you from engaging in activities. It prevents you from having a relationship because I have all these fearful thoughts of, well, what if I don't say the right thing? What if they don't like me, right? These what if scenarios. I become so scared because of all these fearful thoughts that what I have done now is locked myself into this invisible barrier, this cage. And inside this cage, I'm not able to enjoy life. I'm not able to do the things I used to love doing. I'm not able to be happy to do things with friends or family because now I'm locked in this cage of anxiousness, this cage of fear, and it's kept me bound. And so, what I talk about is it's invisible, and what you don't realize is in the book I give tools on how to unlock that cage and walk yourself out. And so these tools are the tips to help you battle and deal with whatever that invisible cage is. And so what I do is there's a lot of different invisible cages that we can create for ourselves that prevent us from enjoying life. And so I just identify, not all of the cages, but I identify some cages that it can be, like I said, the cage of unforgiveness. And so because we're stuck in that state of not being able to move beyond that forgiveness, whether it's forgiving someone else or forgiving ourselves, we have now trapped ourselves to where we can't enjoy life. So I identified the different cages, invisible cages that we have locked ourselves in. And then the other half of the book is talking about the different keys that you can use to unlock that cage and so that you can start engaging in life. The key can be, one is talking about self-compassion and what that means, and being kind to yourself, having self-awareness, right? One is gratefulness, thankfulness, and gratitude, how those can help you with being able to enjoy life and engage. And so, to make a long story short, and I went around that, I'm just so excited about this book because I've gotten great feedback, which is people have just, I don't want to see women. I know it can be men, but I'm going to speak to women because we're
Right.
hard on ourselves and society has really been negative, and we are, just really hard on ourselves. And so it really gives you those tools that are needed so that you don't have to feel that way that you're feeling now. If you're feeling down and sad, or you're feeling stuck and you're feeling unmotivated, you feel like, things are never going to work out. If you find yourself angry all the time, it's identifying, what that may look like. And I talk about that. I not only talk about it, I give steps and tools on how to address it. So I kind of packaged up the things that I do in my therapy practice. And I thought, well, let me package it up in a way that I can talk to just everyday person. And if
Yeah.
someone was sitting here and they say, you know what, I just need something to help me along the way, something to identify and to give me those steps on things to do, then that's what I package it up. And I didn't want it to be anything cumbersome or long, because I feel like when you're going through something, you don't want to have to read a 300-page book, right, to help you get to the key point, right? So I want to give it to you quick. I want to give it to you where it's something that's easily read and you can follow those steps to really be able to help you find that happiness again, to be able to enjoy life to the fullest, because that's what it's all about.
Well, I know, and you were saying, you were describing how, we put ourselves in these cages,
Mhm.
and that we also are responsible for getting ourselves out.
Yes.
But that the key is you have to understand which type of cage that you're in. Can
Yes.
you kind of, maybe, I don't want you to go into a lot of detail, but
Mhm.
maybe it's a few highlights of the more common cages that you found that women put themselves in.
Well, that is a very good question. And one of the common cages that, and it's interesting because I was just working with a client just recently today. When I say recent, I literally just got done. But one of the common cages that women tend to walk themselves into is not being able to say no. And so it's learning how to take back that power and that control. And so what's happened is they have relinquished that power and that control over to someone else. And they're not even aware. So whether it's, someone they relinquished their financial decisions because they've given it over to someone else, or maybe they have given someone else the power to decide where they live, what they eat, where they work, how they talk, how they dress, right? How they should think, how they should feel, what they should say, what they should do, or how they should even act is a common one. Right?
I'm
Because we're
looking
told
like
as
where they
women,
do that at.
right? Because it's some of those things that, so even with that, we're taught and we're told, right, as women, well, as a woman you should be this way, or as a mother you need to respond this way. If you were a good mother you would be doing, or if you were a good woman you would be doing this, right? That's telling us how we should think, how we should behave, we should act, how we should feel. And so then if we buy into that, of this is what I should be doing,
Yeah.
right, or shouldn't be doing, I always tell my clients it's like you're pointing a finger at yourself. That word should and shouldn't is a blaming word. That word is used to say I'm at a deficit, that I'm not doing something right.
What do you say to women? Because this, working in this relationships field, I hear this a lot. There are a lot of males in
Mhm.
this, field making a lot of money off of women's anxiousness to have a relationship
Oh
or to
yeah.
get married. And one of the things that they often will do in their presentations, their books, or whatever, is tell women, this is what men like, and this is what you need to do, and how you need to be if you want to get a man.
Mm.
And so, you have, I know,
Sorry, I'm
but
sorry. Let me let you finish.
but
I'm sorry.
you getting where I'm going with this. So
Uh-huh.
it's like, what do you have to say to women to fight that? Because it seems like they got this stuff deeply ingrained in their head that they need to listen to some man to
Yeah.
tell them what other men these guys don't even know
Yeah.
want in a
Yeah.
woman. And it's like, how do you think this one dude is going to speak for every man
Mhm.
in your circle?
Mhm.
It just amazes me. But I would
It
like to, to have turn that over to you. What do you have to say to them?
I just think about, would you go to a doctor and you're telling the doctor how you're feeling? He's like, you don't feel that way. You're like, well, no, I do. It's my body. I know how I'm feeling, right? If you go to a medical doctor. So with regards to, this is how you should be. This is what a man wants. I would say learn first what you want. Learn first how to love yourself. Learn first what is important to you so that you can set the guidelines, the ground rules, and those standards that when you come into contact with the man, you can be firm, and that the person that is going to be there that's healthy for you, and a healthy, because you can just get any kind of man, right?
Mhm.
But
As
if
I
you
tell
want a
people, it's not
healthy,
hard if you just want to get married or have
right,
somebody. Any kind of little dust
right,
bucket will do.
right, but it's about, do you want longevity, and do you want to be happy and satisfied in your relationship? So that means you want to be in a healthy relationship. So in order
Right.
for you to be in a healthy relationship, you got to know you got to start loving you have to be able to recognize that, you know what, I love myself, flaws and all. And what that simply means is we all have flaws, right? There are some flaws that we're willing to work on, and there are other flaws that we're like, I'm okay with it, I'm
Okay.
fine, I'm not going to work on it. It is what it is. I am who I am. And so it starts with you not trying to seek outside and look, right? And I don't want to mean to be biblical, because but I am within the spirituality is really good for me, and I am, as they say, a church gal. But if you look at it from the aspect is, you know he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So he has to find her. We are
Right.
out there looking for him. We're the good thing. We're the bonus. We are the dessert. We are the good dish, right? We are the reward for the spoils that he had to go through, or whatever, right? And so it's recognizing your value. That's the number one thing. Recognize that you are valuable. And so don't sell yourself short, and don't limit your expectations or lower them.
Right. Another emotion, you already talked about fear. That was on my list, but you already hit it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about women's anger
Mm-hmm.
because, there's, of course, the angry Black woman stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at what a lot of those women went through, They have every
Mhm,
right to be angry.
mhm,
I'd be angry. I'm angry for them.
mhm,
But,
mhm,
that's not necessarily the best way to handle
mhm.
the situation. So if someone finds themselves, not really able to manage their anger well, what do you suggest they do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's a long answer, but the short version is one, you have to uncover, get to the root cause of what that anger is. So, what that means is we realize that anger is a secondary emotion. So, that means it's on the top, it's what I see. Anger is whatever I'm able to show you, but it's underneath that it's masking, right? So, what's underneath it? Is it hurt, disappointment, loneliness? So this is the feeling that I'm having, but it's being demonstrated as anger, right? So you got to get to the root cause underneath that anger of what's causing you to have that. In order to do that, you're going to have to be able to process your feelings. You're going to have to acknowledge your feelings first. Acknowledge that you're feeling a certain way, identify the reasons why you're feeling that way, and then be able to work through that and process them. Right. And so that may take you having to talk to a professional to help you through that. Because if you're finding yourself angry all the time, constantly irritable, snapping, right, really can't focus, just like everything is just getting me really irritated, then I'm going to say you need to talk to someone to help you navigate through that, because
Mm,
there's some deeper layers, right, to address that. And you're right, there are things. Let me say this: anger is a natural human emotion. We are all going to feel anger. It's a way to help us know that something bothered us, something didn't sit well with us. Anger isn't the problem, it's how you respond when you're angry, right? That's
gotcha.
the key. It's how you respond. And you may need someone to help you learn different coping mechanisms or different ways to respond when you are upset, right? And to help you work through that.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's touch on we'll be taking some questions from you guys in a little bit, okay? Let's touch on boundaries.
Mm, mhm,
One thing that I have found over the years is that most women really struggle with those.
mhm.
Even if they do manage to say, to establish some, they really struggle with maintaining them.
Yeah,
And so I wanted to get your take on that. Why do women struggle so much with setting and reinforcing their boundaries?
that's a good question. Well, I mean, one, and I always like to start off as if people don't know or defining what something is,
Right.
right? Not
Oh,
taking it.
me too.
So, right. So thinking about the boundaries, which is just basically setting limits, guidelines, allowing someone to know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable for you. And it makes sense that women struggle with that because of how we're socialized, right? From little girls. Well, you want to be a good little girl, right? You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to be seen as bad. And so it's that image of how we're concerned about how others may view us, right? And so if I say no, if I set a limit, then how am I going to be viewed? Are people going to view me as being mean? Are they going to view me as not being, a team player? Are they going to view me as not wanting to, assist or being a helpful person kind of thing? So it's getting beyond that fear, because it also goes back to the fear.
Mhm.
Everything roots back to that fear. And
And women
so
are so fearful, though. That just drives me crazy. Just so
it's not
afraid.
just women, but yeah, because we, unfortunately, it can be ingrained and it's something we learn, right? It becomes a learned behavior. Depending on if something happens, right, and then the response is negative, then I may start to look at, oh, if A occurs, then I can expect B, right? If
Mhm.
then scenario. And so it's being able to push beyond that fear. But it makes sense, because when you're talking about setting boundaries, it's not something you just do one time.
Right.
Once you start to learn how to do boundaries, how to set boundaries effectively, healthy boundaries, you have to keep on practicing. I gave the analogy earlier today to a client, saying, when you set, because they gave the analogy of we talked about a wall, right? Putting up that fence, right? That wall. And I said, well, in order for you to know that that wall is sturdy and that it works, things got to be bumped up against the wall. You can have a nice wall that's sitting there pretty, but it may not be a barrier, and may not be strong, and you're not going to know that it's strong until it's tested. And so that means once we start to learn how to adequately set appropriate boundaries, we got to keep practicing. because
Mm.
practice makes perfect. We're going to have to be tested. But if we never allow ourselves to be tested, right, to see if our boundaries or our barrier is strong, we're not going to know if it'll fold down, when a burst of wind comes out and comes
Somebody
upon.
just touches it.
Yep, and it
Just-
crumbles down like a house of cards, right, or dominoes.
yeah, I've seen that. Okay, you guys, hold on. We got a couple of more questions, and I'll start taking yours. Um, what do we do about women and self-esteem
Mm,
when they I don't know. I think may have sort of starting to, all of these things are tied together,
yeah,
but
interconnected.
the worthiness
Mm,
of it and the confidence
yeah,
in themselves is just not there. And I'm seeing it in very young people,
yeah.
teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it, is there anything that we can do as elders or parents of the girls
Mm-hmm.
to instill better self-esteem in them?
Mm-hmm. Well, one is once again, I'm going to go back to that, helping them to learn themselves, flaws and all, right? Recognizing that, hey, I may have my flaws, but it's okay. And telling them that they're valuable, doing some affirming words, helping them if they can't identify some affirming words to find out what are some good qualities about them. One of the activities that I love to do with my clients is I do some skills cards, right? Or self action items, affirmation cards. So it's
Hmm.
basically just little index cards, right? I love color, so I'll get different color ones or whatever. And I sit with the client and I help them work out what are some affirming words about themselves. And depending on what we're trying to work on, right? I help them identify what are some skills or things they're good at. It can be professionally, it can be personally, it can be personal characteristics about themselves, right? I have them work through that and then I assist them with it and then they write it on these cards. And so it can say, I am lovable, right? I am beautiful. I am a confident person or whatever it is. I am skilled at whatever it is, but it starts with I am. And so I have them write that out and I tell them to read that daily. Read it
Do they
daily until
struggle
it's
with
great.
writing it and coming up
Oh,
with
they
stuff?
do. They do. That's why I assist them through it.
Oh
Mhm.
boy.
They do. They struggle. So it goes back to, right? That's one way of doing it, being able to have some affirming words that you read daily and say out loud. You want to say it at least 7 times because that's how long it takes for it to stick here in the human psyche, right? So being able to do that, and that's one of the things. And what you can do is if they're having trouble, you can identify some skills. I tell parents, what are some things that your kids are good at? What are some things that you can identify so that you can start saying that to them? You are brilliant. I love how you're so creative. You can just come up with all these different ideas. You are a great artist. I like how you pay attention to detail. So you're helping to instill in them, right, that confidence. It's helping to build that confidence and helping them to know that they're valuable. And that's where you start. Self love starts with the word self, starts with me first. And I have to start doing that work because if I don't love myself, I can't expect anyone else to love me. I need to be my first love because if I love myself, then I know how to set healthy boundaries with others. And that is loving myself.
Okay, there you go. That's our show right there. That's the title. That's the title of it right there. Bam. All right. So let's see. Let's get some questions from our viewers. Anyone have a question or two for Nicole? Now is the time. That's why I warned them in advance because a lot of them don't type that fast. I was like, okay, y'all
Okay.
start typing now.
So then we can get to it. Yes. No, that's good. And
Because I
and
know they have questions. Come on, you guys, because she's not only here for a limited time.
I
Don't
know.
wait until she's gone and then say, "Oh, I should have asked her this and that."
I know. That's okay. That's okay. I know. I know. That's okay.
Okay, here's one question. When someone is trying to push your buttons or overstep your boundaries, how do you remain calm and not react when you tell them?
Ooh, good one. Good one. Practice. So one is, right, if you already know this person is going to try to push your buttons and you know this. So it's preparing yourself before you even have a conversation with them. Saying, okay, I know they're going to try to push my buttons, but I'm not going to react. Right? It's taking that breath right in through your nose literally and out through your mouth when you're exhaling and saying, Okay. And it's you coaching yourself through saying, okay, I'm not going to let them do that to me. Because you can be either he who angers you controls you. Right? That's a Chinese proverb. And so it's recognizing I'm not going to give them that power and that
Mm-hmm.
control to upset my emotions. And I talk about that in one of my chapters, in case no more, in the Angry Be Gone chapter. I'm not going to give you that power to control me any longer. And so I'm going to be able to recognize and talk to you in a calm manner. But if I'm upset, don't even have the conversation.
Just
If
walk
you
away.
can't come, yep. If possible, when you're upset, it's not good to have a conversation when you're angry, because you're liable to say something you regret later, or you may do some actions that you regret later. So just walk away and calm yourself down. That can be you breathing right in through your nose, out through your mouth, helping to calm yourself down with doing some more coaching. I call it positive self-talk. Like, you got this. Don't worry about it. Don't let this person upset you. You're gonna be okay, right? Drinking cold water actually helps to lower and decrease when you're feeling angry as well.
Oh,
Um,
really?
it does. And lowering yourself. So if I'm up or whatever, sitting down, like my back against the wall, and lowering myself actually helps to calm you down as well too. So if you're able to remove yourself, do that before, right? If you're feeling yourself getting angry and feeling your blood boiling because you don't want to do something you're going to regret later. But then still, when once you can calm down, you want to come back and have the conversation, because now you're not so emotionally charged, so that you can
Right.
have the conversation.
Okay. Let me get the second question up here. When a person is new at setting boundaries and has not been doing it for a long time, how do you go back and reestablish boundaries with people who have chronically crossed them?
That's a good question. So, if I'm understanding the question right, is if I have not been good, let's say I'm using myself, if I haven't been good with setting boundaries, and now I'm having a conversation with this person, and the person keeps crossing the boundary,
Right. And you
how
want
do
to
you reestablish?
reestablish them.
Okay. So you got to go back to ground zero, like stage one. If whatever that was, and I don't know if the person, if they're saying they already had boundaries, then that means they
That's
have.
what it sounds like. They hadn't been doing it for a long time, she wrote. So it
Okay, so you can
sounds
read
like
it with
she
me.
had them boundaries and then wasn't really reinforcing it, but now she
Okay.
wants to, you know,
So it goes
back and
back to that reinforcing. So
right.
that means having that conversation all over again, right? So an example would be if, I'm talking with my mom and I tell her, hey, I don't want to talk about certain conversation because it makes me feel emotionally, I don't like the way it makes me feel. So anytime you bring this up, I'm going to have to stop you. So let's say we were good and we established the boundary. Then some time goes on, I don't know, some years. And then let's say she starts to come back and I start noticing a pattern of she's falling back into the same habit. Then it's up to me to have the conversation again and say, hey, we had this conversation. I'm noticing that you're crossing this boundary. And I mentioned I don't want to have this conversation. So whenever you bring it up again, I'm going to stop the conversation and I'm going to move
Okay.
forward. So she has to reestablish the boundaries, because they've already had the conversation.
Right.
Reestablish, let them know, hey, this is not okay. And this is what I'm going to do if you do this. If A, then B.
There we go. All right. Let me get the third one. What is your best affirmation that you use daily?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, one of the things I always use is today's going to be a good day. I start off with that one because if how you start off in the beginning of the day is going to set the whole tone. And so if
Mhm.
I have the thought of today's going to be a good day, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to start to feel it. I'm going to start to, then my actions are going to be different. My action, oh, today's going to be a good day. So I start looking for the good in the day. I start looking at what's working versus what's not working. Right. So that's one of my favorite ones is, today's going to be a good day. And my other one is I love myself, flaws and all. I mean, I love that one so much. I created a t-shirt. So I have a t-shirt line saying I
Go,
love
girl.
myself, flaws and all, with the butterfly, because I recognize, hey, we all have flaws. And one of the things I always joke with my husband is anyone who knows me, I am directionally challenged. It doesn't matter. I used to work for the county where I used to we had a Thomas guide and you had to find how to go to home visits.
Oh, not
I
the
have,
Thomas guy,
oh,
girl.
yes. So I use Google now, and I am chronically getting lost, but now Google is great, right? Maps. It is what it is. No matter how many ways you try to tell me, I'm like, my brain doesn't see it that way. I stick with one way of when I learn how to get somewhere because I'll get lost. Instead of me being upset with myself, I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm just directionally challenging. It's okay.
Hey,
It's not going to change.
you don't notice how I'm not saying anything? Because like somebody will be sitting in the car with me, girl, I tell you, I have to confess. They will be
Yes.
sitting there and say, Deb, when we get to the next corner, turn left. Do you know I will turn right every time? They have to point at the direction. Do you want me to turn that way? Then I will turn that way. But if you just say it, I will do
Yeah.
the opposite every single time.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
It is what it is, Deb. But I tell my husband, he's like, because he called me Nikki. Nikki, I mean, you can't. I said, look, I can't be good at all things. I got to leave something for you to be great at, right?
Love it. I love it. I know that he just like, let me be quiet.
It's just a running joke in my house when, if I'll tell, oh, go here, then he gets lost and then he'll say, I listened to you. I said, why you listen to me? We all know that I'm directionally challenged. That was you messed up in the beginning by even
Oh
listening
yeah,
to my
dude, you was
directions.
all on the wrong foot from the get-go. Okay, here's another one. Oops. What's the difference between a boundary and a wall? I have walls up my entire life and I want to know the
Oh,
difference.
there is a difference.
Oh yes,
So
honey.
yeah, that's a good one. So a boundary is a guideline. It's ground rules, right? It's something that we all have to have, a set of principles we live by, where we're saying what's okay and what's not. And I give an example. When we go to school, as early as elementary right, we're taught when you walk into the room, you sit down. They tell you what to expect and what's expected of you. That's a boundary. A wall is something we hide behind. So a wall can be built up because we have experienced hurt or something has occurred that has created us to erect a wall which we hide behind because it prevents us from being able to engage with others because it's that fear of intimacy oftentimes.
Right.
So I talk about that in this course that I'm creating about the difference between having a spongy boundary, a rigid boundary, and a healthy boundary. And that rigid boundary has us set up these walls and we keep people away like this, like do not enter kind of thing. Because oftentimes it's from our experiences. And oftentimes it can be from experience of hurt, right? And I don't want to feel that way again. So it's easier for me to put a wall up and think of the wall as like a barricade, right? I'm barricading myself inside behind this
Mm-hmm.
wall and I'm not allowing anyone in because you're not going to hurt me, right? So that in itself is not healthy. Is learning how to work through that so that you can have healthy boundaries that are not walls.
Gotcha. Okay, I think that answers her question really well. Here's another one for you, and then we'll take one more after this, and then we'll let you close out. She asked, "What steps do you recommend to overcome fear of setting boundaries?"
Ooh, that's a good one. Most people have that, right? People who well, let me take that back. Most people who struggle with setting boundaries have the fear of setting boundaries. It goes back to that fear of what if. What if I set the boundaries and they don't follow it? What if I set the boundaries and, it turns out worse? What if I set the boundaries and they don't like me anymore? Right? So it's being able, you're like, okay. So it's working through that fear. And that fear is, I give the acronym in the book is, false evidence appearing real. It's being able to question that and saying it's not real until it's real. So addressing that fear head on. So I would tell the person to really look at, okay, why are they feeling afraid to set the boundary? What do they fear is going to happen with that? So getting that fear out loud, talking it out, writing
Gotcha.
it. They can write it out, say it out loud. But I like to write because you can see it, right? To write it out of what they fear is going to happen by setting the boundary, and they have to work from there because it's going to be some steps to getting them towards that place of being able to start setting healthy boundaries. They can read some great books, like you can get my book Cage No More. They have other books on boundaries, Dr. Robert Townsend, different things. And if they're still struggling, then I say, seek a professional that can definitely help you work through that.
And we have this one last question about parents. And she asked, what if you have parents that like to put you down when you're trying to work on yourself? That's
Ooh.
come up a lot
Mm,
in my advice column recently. These
mhm,
very toxic, negative,
mm,
controlling, weird, narcissistic, just crazy parents,
mhm.
um, and what they're doing to their kids. So this question is very timely.
Yeah. No, I mean, one is you're still going to have to learn how to set boundaries, right? Some limits. And the hard things that the most difficult thing that people have is setting healthy boundaries with family members, with loved ones, right? Because we're not taught how to set limits. We're raised in an environment, and if it's an unhealthy one, right? So let's take her or the person's example. If I'm raised in an environment where my mom is always constantly negative, always putting me down, that's what I've learned to accept from her. And so we have this relationship now. It's like I call it a dance. We know which part we play in this dance with one another. And so it's up to me to say, I no longer want to stand on the dance floor with you. I no longer want to do this tango with you. I'm choosing not to. And so when you choose not to and you start working on yourself, one, they're going to have to learn how to start building themselves up and their value and their self worth. Because if they have a parent who has constantly been negative to them, what that has done is tore down their value and their self worth. And so they probably really question themselves. They probably don't have great confidence in themselves and their skills and their ability because they've constantly been having this negative thing said to them from the person who was supposed to love them the most and to
Right.
guide them, right? And so they're going to have to work through that, right? Being able to work through that, which is a process. Being able to do that, and as they're working through that, they're going to learn how to develop healthy boundaries. Because if it stems from a parent, I would take it, stake to say they probably have a real difficult time setting boundaries with a lot of people
Right.
because it's starting from the first your first caregiver who
That's
teaches you
so
how to think
disappointing.
about yourself. It is.
Right.
But the good thing is, I don't want to leave on a negative note, but the good thing is you can still learn how to be healthy, right? Learning your personal bill of rights. I talk about that in my book in one of the chapters is when you learn your personal bill of rights, these are things that we set that are every human being has these. And so when I learn them, I can start to believe them. And one of them is I have the right to be the healthiest person in the room. The other one is I
Oh,
have
I
the
like
right to
that.
be, yes, I have the right to determine my own priorities. I have the right to set my own standards. I have the right to say no without explanation. I have the right to be angry with someone I love. Right. And so it's being able to have that. This is like, you can't see it, but it's like I put it on scroll and I often give this to my clients.
Oh,
You can
nice.
tell it. Right. But I have it outlined also. I think it's chapter 5 in case no more. But it is a process. She can or he can work through that, but they may need some guidance with that.
Okay. Well, I want to give you the opportunity. This is a question I close out every interview with during the month of February. Since our theme is self love, for you, in your own words, to describe what self love means to you.
Ooh. Self love means knowing yourself. Self love means valuing yourself. Self love means I recognize that my voice matters and my voice is important to be contributed to what's being said. Self love means I am aware of my flaws and I love myself in spite of it all, right? Self love means I love myself enough that I set healthy boundaries with others so they know what is okay and what is not okay when they're to treat me.
Right.
So that's what self love means to me.
It's so beautiful because every person has a different twist, a different take on it. And it's just been fascinating to hear everybody's opinion
Yeah,
about it since I really
it's
enjoyed that.
subjective, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's so subjective, and that's one of the reasons why I created a course on my online academy that will be coming out shortly. But it's because of this whole topic, I saw the need and I cover boundaries, but it's how to say no how to say no without feeling guilty. A 4-step comprehensive guide to setting healthy boundaries and guidelines, ground rules, sorry, with those you love. And
And
so it's
so
very
where can they go to find out some information about, signing up for that?
Good question. They can go onto my website, which is www.nicolearkadie.com. One of the things they can do when they log on there, if they subscribe, once I forgot to say this part. So if they subscribe, they will actually gain access to a free downloadable ebook. And that one is helping them with their mental wellness, right? It's I'm not crazy, navigating my mental wellness, right? Navigating your mental wellness. And so when they do that, they can also let me know that they are interested in being signed up for the online course. And what I like about the course, I will be, and I'll let you know. So I'll make sure I'll send your email also, but I will make it aware when it becomes live, because it's it allows them to go at their own pace. And so it has videos in there where I'm walking you through things like how we're talking here.
Mhm.
Even when I have PowerPoint, I am narrating through that, and I give them so much resources because I really want them to gain. And it's a 4-step process. So in 4 steps, you will be able to say no without feeling guilty. In 4 steps, you will be able to push through that fear and be able to recognize your value and your worth and be able to command that from others. I want to make it quick. I want to make it where it sticks. And I leave you with tangible items so you're able to download the material also so you can have it with you, right? Because I don't believe in just, saying something, having you watch something. I want you to have something that you can take with you so that you can continue to practice, because practice, practice, practice makes perfect,
Exactly.
right? So that you can really maintain and gain a skill.
Oh, this is so wonderful, Nicole. Thank you so much for making time for little old us.
You are so very welcome. This is what I enjoy doing. So please, please, I mean, if your listeners, your viewers, if you guys have any questions, once again, you can reach out. Go to my website, nicolearkadie.com, and I think she'll type my name or
Yeah,
however,
and I will put it in the show description page if I haven't already. The show
yes. So
description down below.
they can access that and get that free ebook. That's a great way of being able to do that. And if you feel like, you know what, I need just a little bit more help, my Cage No More book, right? Let's see if you can see it. Sorry, I got the light over here. So they can gain access to that if they go to my website. They actually get a discount because it is available on Amazon. If they go to my website and they want a hard copy, they get a 5% discount. If they want the digital copy, the ebook, they get I think it's like a 28% discount, and they get access to it. Be like, you know what? I don't want to wait for it to come in the mail. I want
All
it
right.
right now. They can just go to my website and gain access to that because it's all about helping them have mental wellness. That's why I do what I do, is because I really want that. And if they find, you know what, I need a coach, or maybe they're saying, you know what, I think I may need therapy, because therapy means that I'm going through something that's preventing me from being able to enjoy life. I'm having
Hmm.
a hard time going to work. I'm having a hard time getting out of bed. I'm having a hard time in my relationships. Then, if that's the case, then we have great therapists here at Arkadie Counseling and Wellness Center, trained licensed professionals, and that website is just simply arkadiewellness.com. They can click on there, look at the bios of our therapists, and they can schedule an appointment, schedule a session.
They do it like Zoom over.
Oh, good question. So they do both. We do both. We do
Okay.
virtual and we do in person.
Because these
And
people
we
are from all over the world, actually.
Yeah, yes, we do virtual. We do virtual. So yes, they can do it. We have our system, which is all encrypted, right, through our electronic health records, because we're HIPAA compliant, right? And so if they want to come in, right, we also do in-person sessions. And on our website, they can take a look at our COVID-19 policy, making sure we keep everything clean, everyone, healthy and safe. And we've been doing well because we've still been operating, and I've been seeing clients here since last year of April, and I have been good because I
Okay.
maintain, you know, cleanliness, cleanliness, cleanliness. And so, if that's something where they want to access and need more assistance, please visit arkadiewellness.com.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Nicole. And I will, well, you already got the links, but please try to come by, check in a day or two and see if anyone has any questions or comments that
Okay,
you want to respond to.
okay. I will
Okay.
do. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a pleasure. I'm Dr. Nicole Arkadie, your mental wellness expert. So take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right, you guys. That was Dr. Arcadia. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. I like, her energy was good. And, she gave you guys some really great information and tips for you to go forward. You may not have caught it, but there was homework here that she talked about, trying to figure out what it is that puts you in your cage. Remember her talking about that? If you forgot, you can go back and listen to it. And, what is it? Is it fear? Is it that you lack confidence for some reason? Well, what's going on with you that makes you not take care of yourself and be afraid to put up boundaries and protect yourself and your rights and things like that. So I think all in all, this was a really excellent show for you. Of course, we still have a lot more going on. We still have more. This is only day 17. We're going to 28 days of Debruary. So we got a lot more stuff going on. But I want everybody, I want you to know I appreciate everybody showing up. If you are not a subscriber to this channel, please become one. We have, trying to make our 25,000 subscriber goal by the end of this month. If you hit that subscription button, you can definitely help us in that endeavor. But I will see you guys all here tomorrow night for another live stream. And then we got a couple of uploads coming up for over the weekend. Okay. You guys stay cool. I'll see you tomorrow night.